So the Ravens had the top-ranked passing offense last season. So I'm so sorry. I'm looking at these stats wrong. I apologize. Let me actually redo this. They actually had the worst passing offense in the league last season. Yes, they were ranked 32 out of 32 in passing offense. A lot of the blame can go on the offensive coach, Greg Roman, offensive coordinator, I apologize. Yes, he does take most of the blame. A lot of people are going to say that it's Lamar Jackson.
He's a running back. He can't throw.
Regardless of what it is, listen, my idea is that you don't even need a top 5 passing attack. You don't even need a top 10 passing attack. You could get by with a top 20 passing attack. That would be a huge improvement. So what have the Ravens done this free agency period to really shore up that passing offense, to really help out Lamar Jackson, maybe give him a weapon or two? What have the Ravens done so far in this free agency period? Well, they did sign offensive guard Kevin Zeitler. Oh, you were expecting me to say more? No, because that's all they did. They haven't done anything else. Welcome to Out of the Pistol. My name is Jose Verduzco, and today we're going to be taking a look at why the Ravens have not plunged on a wide receiver just yet. And also, they haven't really done much for the offense so far this free agency period. Is it concerning? Yes, I'm sure some people might say that they are concerned. So earlier today, we saw the Cardinals get 2 players that I really wanted the Ravens to get. Well, maybe not as much, but I definitely thought that the Ravens would at least be in on both of these players. The first player being AJ Green. Something was just telling me, man, look, AJ Green, you know, he's out of his prime. He's 33 years old. He looked washed up last season for the Bengals. It just made too much sense. It was such a Ravens move for them to go out and sign AJ Green, but it didn't happen. He actually ended up going to the Arizona Cardinals. It is a 1-year deal worth up to $8.5 million. So in a way, I'm happy the Ravens did not make that move because that would have been just a super Ravens move. But the other player that I was discussing was Rodney Hudson, center that we originally thought was cut by the Las Vegas Raiders, but then was put on the trading block. I really thought that the Ravens were going to make that move. I really wanted to see the Ravens build up the offensive line, build a fortress around Lamar Jackson. Everything runs from the running game, and then just get, like I said, a top 20 passing game. And I think with a good offensive line, that could really help out the Ravens move the ball, especially when it comes to playoff time, which has been where we struggled the most. However, the Arizona Cardinals were the ones that ended up trading for Rodney Hudson, center from the Las Vegas Raiders, and after seeing the details, I was kind of happy that the Ravens did not make that move. Eric DeCosta did not plunge on Rodney Hudson, especially since we had heard that the Raiders were planning on cutting him anyway. The Cardinals ended up giving up a 3rd-round pick to get Rodney Hudson and a 7th-round pick for themselves. That's a lot, and it's a move that I definitely would not see the Ravens making, so I understand why they didn't make the move. I think that the Ravens probably would have traded away a 5th at the most for Rodney Hudson, so I'm not surprised. That being said, I would still like to see the Ravens add another piece to this offensive line. Again, build a fortress around Lamar Jackson, make the running game stay as dominant as it has been for the past 2 seasons, and again, just get a top 20 passing game. That's all you need. And just imagine how much that would help. We cannot be dead last. So let's take a look at some of these still available free agent wide receivers that the Ravens could potentially be taking a look at here. So these are some of the remaining notable free agent wide receivers. You have former Colt T.Y. Hilton, you have Golden Tate, you have Sammy Watkins, Will Fuller, Antonio Brown, Curtis Samuel, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Kenny Golladay is still available, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. So obviously, I think, Kenny Golladay would just be the perfect, dream receiver for myself and a lot of Ravens fans. But if we're being realistic, that's not looking like it's going to happen because, again, what top flight, young, in their prime receiver is going to want to come to the bottom ranked passing attack? And, you can believe in the Ravens organization, you can believe in Lamar Jackson all you want, but the fact of the matter is there is this dark cloud over the heads of everybody because they see, oh, is Greg Roman still over there? I don't know, man. I don't know. So I just feel like that has to be one of the reasons why the Ravens are probably not going to be able to pull in one of these top-end wide receivers, which is why I'm also not expecting for Juju Smith-Schuster to become a Baltimore Raven either, even though he would be a great fit on the field. Now, off the field, I would hate to see him dancing on opposing teams' logos and just making an ass out of himself, as he usually does. But you cannot deny that on the field, Juju would be an almost perfect fit for the Baltimore Ravens and what they like to do. Another receiver that I wouldn't mind the Ravens taking a look at is Curtis Samuel. He's definitely one of the more underrated players that maybe not many people are really looking at. And you might say, but look, he's only 5'11". And I understand he's not necessarily that big-bodied possession-style receiver that we're looking for. But look, for me, all I want is a receiver that's going to go up and get the ball. It doesn't matter if you're 6'5" or 6'2" or 5'9", right? Remember Steve Smith? He was a short dude, but he was physical, and the man went up and fought for the ball every time it was thrown his way. That's the type of receiver I want. And I do believe that Curtis Samuel has some of that in him. He has the physicality. He has the go-getter mentality that I'm going to catch the ball if it's thrown to me. So Curtis Samuel would not be a bad signing at all for the Baltimore Ravens, especially if they could get him for cheap. Now, I'm not sure if that's what they're planning on doing. I would really like that move. I'm not sure if we would be able to develop him as a receiver because he's still very young, just going into his prime, and you know how the Ravens do. We're just not good at developing wide receivers whatsoever. So I would hate to see Curtis Samuel come here and us to stunt his progression as a wide receiver because we just cannot coach these guys. And aside from that, I'm not too big a fan of signing any of these other receivers. I got to be quite honest with you. There's Antonio Brown. You guys already know I've talked endlessly about Antonio Brown. Now, he has seemed to clean up his act a little bit after going to the Bucs last season. So, I guess it wouldn't be a bad flyer to take on Antonio Brown, but I'm just not sure if the Ravens are going to do that. And then there's Will Fuller. I am not that big of a fan of the idea of signing a Will Fuller. For one, has had trouble staying on the field, staying healthy. That is a concern, especially if you're the Ravens, because you need reliable players. And also, adding another speed receiver to what we already have in Hollywood Brown and Devin Duvernay, it just kind of seems, not necessary almost. So I'm not that big of a fan of the idea of signing Will Fuller either. And then there's Sammy Watkins. This is also a move that I could definitely see the Ravens making. I wouldn't be too necessarily happy about it because, yes, he's had some good years, especially going in at Kansas City when he played for the Chiefs, but you got to think about what he had around him. You got to think that maybe that was one of the reasons why he was able to have a kind of career renaissance there with the Chiefs because, when you have Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce on the field, teams aren't going to be really paying attention to you that much. So Sammy Watkins is definitely a move I could see the Ravens making because they could probably get him for cheap. But I wouldn't be that big of a fan. But if it happens, hey, man, what are you going to do? At least it's a receiver, someone that we know can actually play the position. And then T.Y. Hilton, I'm not that big of a fan of that one either. More so his smaller frame. Now, I know people peg him as a slot receiver, and that's not necessarily all he can do. He can move all over the field. I don't believe that he's the type of receiver that the Ravens are looking for right now. And then the last remaining free agent wide receiver that I mentioned in this tweet is Golden Tate. And this is that would be a That's So Raven move for sure. If they just wait until the last day before the draft and they're like, all right, just screw it, sign Golden Tate, because might as well. Why not? This is totally a Ravens move that I could see them pulling off, especially because I'm sure they would get him for cheap. Now, a veteran wide receiver, it's not a bad deal, but again, is it really going to elevate you 12 spots? And that's what I'm asking for. And I think that's what a lot of Ravens fans are hoping for. Again, you don't need a top 5, top 10 passing attack. You don't, especially with how good this running offense is. You just need a top 21. You can throw it to someone that you can rely on. This is pretty much it. This is where we're at right now. Now, maybe I'm going to look like a fool because, as the news continues to come out today, maybe the Ravens will go out and make a splash signing that I just didn't get to talk about today. But if they do, you guys already know I'm going to be discussing it tomorrow. So what I will say, let's just try to be patient, man. You know, let's see how this whole thing shakes out. There's still a long offseason to go. There's still the draft. And I know people are frustrated because Eric DeCosta really hasn't made as many moves as we would like to see. And I totally understand that. But hey, man, you know, patience is a virtue. It's just all about just waiting this thing out. Let's try not to get too, up in arms about something that Eric DeCosta didn't do or has done. And let's just wait and see how this team actually looks when all is said and done. You know, I go back to our 14-2 season. We lost so many players, especially on the defense, and everybody was calling Eric DeCosta a bum. And then the Ravens proceeded to go 14-2. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to happen again, but let's just chill out a little bit. Let's see how this thing plays out. And let's see the move that the Ravens do make. And I am hoping that they will make a move today. All right, fellas, thank you all so much for watching this episode of Out of the Pistol. I am Jose Verduzco, and I will see you all tomorrow.